Hi, everybody. Welcome to Volunteer with Your Pet. My name is Jessie Haas. I am the Senior National Director of the Therapy Animal Program at Pet Partners, and we are an organization involving therapy animal teams, and they make millions of visits in all 50 states and 15 countries each year to people in need. I'm also joined today by one of our longtime volunteers, Jackie Gumby. Hey, Jackie. Jackie's going
Hey,
to so glad to have you here. Appreciate your time. Um, Jackie is going to introduce herself in just a moment, but I want to provide you all a sense of where we are headed. We'll start with some basic definitions of what a therapy animal is, what a therapy animal handler is and does. Then Jackie and I will both talk about who we help at Pet Partners and her experiences in providing that help and service in her community. We'll then pivot and talk about Pet Partners as an organization and wrap up with the next steps if you choose to join us as a volunteer, and we certainly hope that you do. So, a therapy animal at their core is an animal that provides unconditional love and comfort to people in need. In terms of their temperament or personality, they have to love meeting new people, sociable, friendly, but they also need to, as much as they may be excited to meet new folks, remain calm. They usually have a very measured temperament. Therapy animals have good behavior and can follow basic commands. Handlers, that's you. Um, Usually an owner. There are some exceptions where a non-owner will handle a therapy animal, but most handlers are owners. They are responsible for guiding interactions between their pet and the people you're serving. This requires a strong bond between an owner and a pet, and I can tell you, and I'm sure Jackie can nod in agreement with this too, your bond will only get stronger by participating in this volunteerism and work together. Handlers are required to keep their animals' well being at the top of mind at all times and also follow the policies and procedures of pet partners, as well as any policies and procedures that might be involved in the facility or location where you're going with your pet. So, if a hospital or a school has policies and procedures, handlers need to be responsible for knowing and following those as well. So, with those definitions out of the way, I think if we could advance slides a little bit. We talked about therapy animals, we talked about handlers. Wonderful. Okay, well, we just talked about handlers, and I've got one with us, Jackie Gunby. Jackie, I would love if you could share with listeners a little bit more about yourself, where you're from, and what drew you to Pet Partners and therapy animal volunteerism.
sure. I'm in the Sacramento area in California. My family is really big on volunteerism. And so before I came to Pet Partners, I was doing adult literacy and things around reading because my mom's a teacher and that was important. Um, but I've been with Pet Partners now probably 23, 24 years. I've had 5 dogs in Pet Partners. This one pictured is my pit bull Salvador. Um, and what drew me to Pet Partners was being able to volunteer with my pet, my beloved pet that loved people. And I thought, this is like the perfect volunteering for me. Um, I have been visiting all of those years. I've also become an evaluator and an instructor. Um, I would say some of the best things that have happened to me were learning that my dogs are talking to me all the time, all the time. They're moving their ears, their facial expression, their body orientation. And I didn't really get that until I got into Pet Partners because we have such a strong emphasis on knowing your dog and whether your dog's having stress or not having stress. So I've become really geeky with things like behavior and genetics and things like that. But the ability to have that communication with my dog helps me no matter where I am, whether I'm on a visit or at home, or maybe we're just out getting an ice cream cone somewhere. But to be able to help them be comfortable, feel safe, know that I'm here for them and I'm watching what they need has just really, really deepened our bond. So, just for that alone, I recommend doing therapy work and learning those kinds of things. Um, And I would also say some of my best friends have come from pet partners. It's like having an automatic connection with people who have the same passion as you do. And it goes all the way from not just being a pet partner, but loving animals and being compassionate and empathetic, and also wanting to help people meet their goals. For me, I really enjoy that part. So I've networked, I know hundreds of people in my area. And my goal also for them as an evaluator and an instructor is to make sure that they know I'm here. And I'm not just here for your evaluation. I'm here for any questions you have, any challenges you meet. I meet people for coffee all the time to talk about what it's about. So it's been really pivotal for me. And frankly, I'm just going to do this until I can't drive anymore. And then I'm going to make people drive me around.
Well, we are going to be happy to have you for all of those years, Jackie. Jackie's talking about her role as an evaluator, which is great because we're going to talk about the evaluation component a little bit later. But first, I want to talk about some of the communities and populations we help. And I'm going to lean on Jackie to talk about her experiences here too. But our volunteers are able to choose where they volunteer and when. So if you feel really inspired about, say, children and helping children, absolutely sign up to go to a school, to a library. If it's a different population, that's totally acceptable as well. I would say, with our 9,000 volunteers, you could find them in a couple of thousand different facilities working with different types of people. So really the sky's the limit. I do want to point out a few different populations we work with, such as patients in recovery. A lot of our teams enjoy visiting with seniors, including those who are living with Alzheimer's. Lots and lots of volunteers involved in literacy programming. I'll talk about that in a second. Many volunteers are inspired to serve in veteran or military communities. We do have specially trained volunteers who respond in crisis situations, and then really, really kind-hearted folks and special pets who spend time with people who are nearing the end of life. So I hope I've given you a good sample of all the people who benefit from receiving visits from our volunteers and their pets. Jackie, are there any populations or facilities you've had a particularly special experience with or special bond with?
You're so right. It really, any type of facility that you're interested in visiting, there's one for you that will absolutely welcome you. I have volunteered pretty much in any kind of facility you can think of. My preferences, though, actually, I really love visiting in juvenile detention, lockdown mental health, and I visit a lot with CAL FIRE staff. So here in Sacramento, we have issues with fires. So we visit a lot with the first responders and also people who've been affected by the fires. But I've also done hospice work. I've volunteered in schools. It really is sky's the limit. Workplace visits actually are something I really enjoy, where we come to a facility and just have a nice visit with the employees and help them de-stress during the day. So you're right, the sky's the limit.
Wonderful. Could we go to the next slide and just pause there for a sec, because I do want people to, I wanted people to see just kind of an overall list of what I just verbalized. Okay, now we can move on. Wonderful. So in terms of why volunteers choose pet partners, I'm going to go through a few reasons. The simplest one is we actually register more than just dogs, and we are one of the only organizations to do that. So if you're out there with a cat, rabbit, guinea pig, we are more than welcoming and happy to have you. We really feel there is a richness to having so many species involved in the program, because each species is unique in how they bond with humans. So many people come to us because we are the only place that can support them and have the skills and experience to do that. Next slide. Another reason volunteers appreciate and choose pet partners is because of the education we provide to our handlers. In fact, we require education before new handlers begin with their pet. I talked earlier about how the human end of the leash is responsible for facilitating interactions between an animal and a member of the public. Oftentimes that's very easy, but sometimes there are challenges. And really, to make those interactions as effective as possible, that really rests on the human being, the handler.
Mhm.
And our course provides that sort of support and information and knowledge, not only to navigate your first few visits or your first few months of volunteerism, but I've heard time and time again from volunteers that there's nuggets of knowledge in that course that they call on in year 2, 3, 4 of visiting. Jackie, I know you are really passionate about the educational piece with Pet Partners because you are an instructor. I should pause and say the course for handlers can be taken online or in person. When it's taught in person, that's done by an instructor. And taking it online is also perfectly acceptable. In fact, the majority of volunteers do it that way. There's obviously whatever style fits you best is what we want you to take. But Jackie, what is something from our coursework that you feel is really an aha moment for a new volunteer or somebody who's interested in getting involved?
I would say, going back to communication with my animal, a lot of people haven't really thought about that aspect other than giving their dog a command or their animal a command and them following through with it. But just watching their animal more closely and being able to identify those things is so important. Um, I would say the other piece is that we do offer so much educational material. We offer videos that are free to our members and
Mhm.
handlers to look at. A lot of it involves communication, but also it's about communicating with people, how to get into a facility that you'd like to get into. If we don't service a particular facility, that's something that we can walk you through and help you figure out how to be successful with getting in to visit those clients. Also, I would say how to present your animal when you're visiting. If it's a small animal, being sure to offer it at the position that your client can get to. If you have a short dog, you maybe want to have them on a stool. If you have a small rabbit, you want to maybe put them on the lap. So just offering them ways that they can be successful at this, that is specific to them. I really love doing the in-person handlers course because people get a chance to ask their specific questions in that. My animal does this. What will I do to mitigate that? Or how
Mhm.
can I present them in the best light? So those kind of things that are very personal to them and help them succeed, I think those are really important pieces.
Great. Thank you so much. Let's head to the next slide. So, Pet Partners tries to provide as much support as we can in so many different ways to our
Mhm.
volunteers and to their pets. One thing we do is provide a directory of volunteer opportunities to all registered volunteers. Once you're official, you'll be able to log in and search by zip code and even be able to search by interest type, like if you would really like to work with weeding visits, for example. And then it will show you all of the different facilities and organizations that are looking for a therapy animal team, either on a one-time basis or an ongoing basis. So that makes it really easy for you to connect with facilities. Speaking of facilities, we are the top choice for many different facilities around the country, including the Mayo Clinic here in Minnesota as one example. One thing that's really important when you are going into facilities is having top-notch insurance backing you up. Almost all, meaning nearly every single facility is going to require that you have insurance, general liability insurance, and Pet Partners provides that to you to back you up. Let's go to the next slide. We do provide dedicated staff nationwide. So no matter where you live, we have people to help you. But
Mhm.
also, we have local groups of volunteers working together in their home communities. Not every community has this, but a lot do. And as Jackie mentioned earlier, that camaraderie that's provided with these local groups is a real benefit of joining Pet Partners. Many of the groups also organize themselves when they go to visits, they might go together, or these groups can be the ones receiving requests from facilities and then distributing to their members as well. Anything else you want to say about the Sacramento group, Jackie? I know you already talked about them, but if you want to add anything else about it, go ahead.
I can just confirm most of the facilities here in Sacramento prefer pet partners. Some will take other groups, but really, my opinion is we're the gold standard, and I'm not afraid to say that. Our emphasis on education, having people to draw upon to help you. We will go actually with someone who's a new team if they feel a little that they want a little extra support on their first or second visit. So that's really what your group and the people that you meet through Pet Partners will provide you. And I always tell people too, don't be afraid to call the staff. The staff is wonderful. They're so helpful. Our goal is always to keep as many great volunteers as possible. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable, because anything that's happened, I've probably had it happen. So I have lots of tricks up my sleeve.
Jackie and I talk a lot. Actually, that's interesting that you brought that up, because I just looked at some data that showed that the average length of service for our volunteers is over 10 years. So people do really come back. They come back with future pets. Maybe if they retired one pet a year or two later, they might come back with another one. So thanks for your input on that, Jackie. Let's go to the next slide. I wanted to spend a moment talking about our special programs and national initiatives. I think Jackie and I have laid out clearly that you can volunteer in the ways that work for you and that you feel passionate about. But for some volunteers, they're really passionate about a specific type of visit and a specific type of program. So the first I want to talk about is Animal Assisted Crisis Response, or AACR. Crisis response teams offer comfort to people during national disasters and emergencies like hurricanes, wildfires, but also serve in situations of collective grief, like after a mass shooting or a situation of school violence. These teams receive specialized training to prepare them for navigating in these challenging situations. We do accept all species into our crisis response program as well. You can see in the picture there on the left that we have a cat participating. Read With Me is a special initiative for teams who feel really passionate about literacy and want to go to schools, libraries, and other venues to have young people particularly read to their pet. Last but not least, Walk With Me. This is for the busybodies out there, people who love to move. It is designed to inspire seniors, families, students, and employees to walk with therapy animals, promoting the many, many benefits of physical exercise and being active alongside pets. Let's take a peek at the next slide. You'll see here is an overview of how to become a therapy animal team with Pet Partners. The first thing you need to do is create a volunteer center account online. You can access that from our website. It is free and it just takes a minute or two. Once you're in your volunteer center account, there is a lot of information there that isn't always available on our public website. So if you're still curious and you want to learn more, it's a great first step. Once you have your account, you can begin a registration with you and your pet. Once again, this takes just another minute or two. You give a little information about yourself and your animal. Once you do that, all steps appear for you, meaning what do you need to do to actually finish the registration process and be able to visit at facilities and organizations in your community. So I love this because once you have the registration, you see all the steps, you can read more about them. You don't have to do everything in one sitting. You can look at a step, read what it's about, maybe complete that step, come back a week or two later and move through the whole process. I will just point out briefly kind of three key steps of registration. One is that you do need to visit your veterinarian or provide information from your veterinarian about your animal's health. You do need to take that course that I talked about and then attend an evaluation with somebody like Jackie, who's a licensed evaluator who will go through about 30 minutes of exercises to ensure suitability for this type of volunteerism. I do want to mention, if you cannot find an evaluator in your area, we have more than 500, so there's plenty. But if you can't find one in your area, please reach out to our staff. Our goal is always that every eligible team will be able to receive an evaluation no matter where they live. So that's the overall process. The next slide will hopefully encourage you to get started with us. if you would please type interested into the chat if Jackie and I have piqued your interest today, you will then receive a link to get a discount code off the online handlers course. You can use it anytime in the next 2 weeks, so there's not an obligation to just typing interested. Then at least you have the code if you decide you'd like to go forth. So wanted to share that with you all in gratitude for spending time with Jackie and I today. And then I'm just going to wrap up with our last 2 slides, which is the story of one of our therapy animals, Bellin. Bellin was severely abused and neglected during the early part of his life. His only experience with people involved a lot of pain and hurt. His adopters, a wonderful couple named Steve and Cassia Fontenot, noticed, though, that he had a really gentle and forgiving nature towards them, but also towards children, particularly towards children. His bond with his owners was so deep that they knew they needed to share that with others. Let's go to the next slide because I like this next picture of Bellin much better. They eventually, in wanting to share him with others, found pet partners, and Bellin became a registered therapy animal. He spent years visiting with children, including those going through bereavement, those who were hospitalized and injured, and many who had experienced trauma and physical abuse themselves. He served tirelessly in his community until his retirement, and the organizations and facilities where he served, along with his handlers, say that he impacted thousands and thousands of children in their healing journeys. I just like to close with that because I think Bellin is a wonderful representation, not only of the healing power of the human-animal bond for the humans who are lucky enough to meet these animals, but also the healing power for pets. Yes, of course, pets in Bellin's situation, but I always think about the fact that therapy animals love doing what they do. They get that mental and emotional stimulation. They get physical stimulation. They love to do it. It is a way to make animals' lives better too. So that is where Jackie and I are going to leave it. I want to thank all of you for spending these last 20 minutes with us. I want to thank Jackie for sharing your perspectives. We truly appreciate and value you, not only today, but in all the years of service to Pet Partners. So thank you, everybody. We're going to sign off. Have a wonderful day.